I rise today to urge my colleagues to support the amendment I'm offering along with my Southern California colleagues, Mr. Brad Sherman and Mr. Henry Waxman. The amendment would allow the Burbank Bob Hope Airport to implement a nighttime curfew between 10 p.m. and 7 a.m. Thousands of residents of Southern California's San Fernando Valley who live under the flight paths or near the terminals at Bob Hope Airport endure the house-shaking noise of air traffic during the day and suffer the jarring interruption of their sleep caused by roaring jets, sometimes late at night. To address the concerns of those affected by airport noise across the nation, the FAA established a process to consider an individual community's request for a curfew. However, the process was designed to be difficult, so difficult that in the decades since it was established by the FAA, only one airport in the nation has successfully completed an application, Bob Hope Airport, and then it was summarily turned down. When Congress enacted the 1990 Airport Noise and Control Act, or ANCA, it intended for ANCA to permit airports to obtain noise restrictions if they met certain requirements. At that time, Congress exempted several airports from the law's requirements for FAA approval of new noise rules if they had pre-existing noise rules in effect address local noise problems. Bob Hope Airport, located in Burbank, California, was one of the first airports in the country to impose a curfew and has a long history of curfews, but was unfortunately not given the protection of the grandfather provision of ANCA that several other similar airports received. My amendment would correct this inequity and put Bob Hope on the same footing as several other airports across the country that had curfews before ANCA's passage by correcting the omission of not allowing Bob Hope Airport to implement on a permanent and mandatory basis the curfew which it had in effect informally since the 1980s. After spending $7 million and 9 years of effort, the FAA rejected Bob Hope's request for a curfew, erroneously contended that the small number of flights impacted by the curfew would impose too great a strain on the country's aviation system and impose too great a cost on users. In reality, the FAA approached the process in reverse, beginning with its conclusion, the one it wanted to reach, and working backwards to try to justify its intended and desired result. It's important that my colleagues understand the impact of this amendment on aviation in Southern California. There will be no impact on commercial flights. Almost all commercial airlines already voluntarily abide by the voluntary nighttime curfew at Bob Hope, and the impact on general aviation will be limited to 2 nighttime landings 4 days a week by large jet aircraft and a handful of nighttime turboprop takeoffs. Because of the FAA's dismissive attitude toward legitimate local concerns, it's clear to us the only way to provide relief to our residents is through this legislative action. Madam Chair, I strongly urge my colleagues to support this amendment to correct an omission in ANCA. Local problems require local solutions, not solutions imposed by a federal agency with a predetermined agenda. Thank you, and with that, I reserve the balance of my time.
The gentleman yield back.
I will yield back.
The gentleman from California yield. The gentleman from Iowa is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I withdraw my reservation.
The point of order is withdrawn.
Madam Chairman, I rise in opposition to the amendment. Unfortunately, I wish the gentleman would have brought it up maybe in full committee as a member of the committee to address it then. I don't believe that this bill is really the venue to address what is a local issue. The affected airport serves the greater Los Angeles area, and I simply don't know the impact of this action that it would have on trans-Pacific flights, trade, or commerce throughout the area. And so for those reasons, I would urge a no vote on the amendment, and I yield back the balance of my time.
The gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment. For what purpose does the gentleman from Arizona seek recognition?
Madam Chairman, I was going to move. Strike the last word.
The gentleman is recognized for 5 minutes.
To rise in support of this amendment. I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The question is on the amendment offered by the gentleman from California. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. In the opinion of the chair, the noes have it, and the amendment is not agreed to.
Madam Chair, on that, I would request the yeas and nays.
The gentleman asked for a recorded vote.
Correct.
Pursuant to the Clause 6 of Rule 18, further proceedings on the amendment by the gentleman from California will be postponed.